With Donald Trump winning the 2024 election, it's really starting to look like they are ushering in a brand new oligarchy. All the tech billionaires are trying to curry favor with dear leader, and now even Mark Zuckerberg is bending the knee. Not only is he appointing Republican operatives to head up the global policy team, but he's also appointing people like Dana White to serve on Meta's board. And he just recently came out and announced a whole bunch of sweeping changes to their platforms that are seemingly only going to help Donald Trump. So let's go ahead and talk about what some of those changes are, and then we will discuss just how impactful this could be to our country. But if you guys want to support independent progressive media, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. Here's Mark Zuckerberg talking about how there's been a cultural shift ever since Donald Trump won the 2024 election.
And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system.
So the most irritating thing about this is they will never provide any examples of the fact checkers being politically biased. They never provide examples of the legacy media trying to censor people. They are just taking this right-wing narrative of censorship and then hiding behind free speech, seemingly so they can get a pass. This is what the right-wing media ecosystem does. This is what the MAGA movement does. They want to spread a whole bunch of misinformation, disinformation, and hateful content, and then they want to say, oh, it's free speech, guys. No big deal. He then goes on to say that they need to bring back Civic content because the users are hungry for it.
Fourth, we're bringing back Civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive.
While working to keep the communities friendly and positive? Isn't that completely antithetical to what he just said? How are you going to roll back your moderation systems and your fact-checking mechanisms and then somehow think that everything is going to remain friendly and positive? We've already seen what has happened over on X. There has been a mass exodus of users because people just aren't into it. So to think that Meta is going to roll all these mechanisms back and everything is going to be honky-dory seems a bit naive to me. But this is in service to Donald Trump. Obviously, they want to be able to spread as much misinformation and disinformation as they want. And with Meta rolling back these safety checks, well, they're going to be able to do just that. He then goes on to say that he needs the help of the United States government to help him operate abroad.
Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government.
So, imagine what he is saying here. I don't like the rules and the regulations and the laws in other countries, so I'm going to get Donald Trump to fight those battles with me. He's basically saying that he wants the U.S. government's help in making sure that other countries can't enforce their own laws. This is downright insane. To think that other countries have figured some of these things out a bit better than the United States instead of letting everything and anything fly, and then that you're going to use the United States government to try to bully these other countries and letting you operate outside of their laws is just downright disgraceful. And let's not forget, Facebook didn't start this fact-checking program out of nowhere. This isn't something they would have invested money in, because I don't know that they would see a huge return on that investment. But let's just get a reminder real quick about why they started the fact-checking. This is very, very important, and not many people talk about it at all.
But it's also worth recalling why Meta had to institute its soon-to-be former fact-checking policy in the first place. This has been totally written out of history. They didn't do all the fact-checking stuff out of nowhere. They certainly didn't because Mark Zuckerberg woke up one day and was like, we should fact-check. No. Let's remember the history there. They did it because starting in 2016, the platform that Zuckerberg founded, Facebook, was used to execute an ethnic genocide of the Rohingya Muslim minority by the military government of Myanmar. Tens of thousands of people were murdered in bloody and brutal pogroms. Accounts of gang rape. People have to flee their village. Hundreds of thousands left homeless. As an in-depth Reuters investigation found, the hateful language and the calls for violence that fueled the massacres were systematically promoted by bad actors. The poisonous posts called the Rohingya or other Muslims dogs, maggots, and rapists suggest they be fed to pigs and urge they be shot or exterminated. This was being posted on Facebook, okay? A United Nations investigator said Facebook was used to incite violence and hatred against the Muslim minority group. The platform, she said, had turned into a beast.
So Facebook was being used to spread misinformation, disinformation, and hateful conduct, and that led to a genocide of a Muslim population. And we think that rolling back these moderation policies and rolling back these checks on truth are going to somehow make people more free. Misinformation and disinformation can be dangerous. And making sure that your platform is safe for its users, it seems to me like you have a moral responsibility to do so. Now, I know that businesses are in the game to make money, but at what point do you say, oh, maybe my platform is causing more harm than it is promoting good? At what point do you take society at large and its health into account? This is one of the most irritating things about the incoming oligarchy. It is only about the bottom line. It's only about how I can get mine. Screw all these other people over here. As long as I'm getting mine, I will kick the ladder down after I'm done. And let's not forget, after January 6th, Mark Zuckerberg had to kick Donald Trump off the platform because he incited an insurrection against the United States of America.
It was something he had to reiterate again after January 6th, not this January 6th, of course, January 6th, 2021, when it became obvious that Trump and his allies used Facebook to spread election lies and organize rallies that would become a deadly Capitol insurrection. After that, Meta banned Trump from its platforms, a move Zuckerberg openly defended at the time, saying that Donald Trump had used their platforms to incite a violent insurrection, which is obviously not even a controversial claim he had. Now here we are, Zuckerberg's just, I guess, memory wiping all of that, rolling it back. To placate the incoming president he once banned, the top vector of disinformation in America today, an incoming president who just months ago wrote that Zuckerberg plotted against him in the 2020 election, and the Meta CEO would, quote, spend the rest of his life in prison if he crossed Trump again.
This is all very, very concerning. Donald Trump winning this election is validating a whole bunch of just backwards thinking. It's validating all of the misinformation and the disinformation. And if we can use that to claim more power, then so be it. There is no fidelity to the truth on the right side of the aisle right now. There is no fidelity to American values. Shouldn't we all be crafting a society that is free and safe for all Americans to be living in? Instead, we have all of these tech billionaires cozying up to Donald Trump, trying to use the United States government to line their own pockets. The safe of Americans be damned. And it's just so irritating to me that they do this all in the name of free speech. As I stated before, fact-checking somebody is not a violation of free speech. You can still have free expression and moderated content. If I go into the Burger King in town and start yelling a whole bunch of slurs and derogatory remarks at the staff, they're going to kick me out. And even if I were to do that to another customer in their store, they're going to boot me. And to think that we are going to operate these social media platforms in a different way and just let it be the wild, wild west is downright insane. Let's listen to Yael Eisenstat, I believe is her name. She used to actually work for this trust and safety team over at Facebook. And she is also reiterating the fact that this free speech thing is kind of being used as a decoy.
But fact-checking or community notes or any of these things they're talking about, that is just about looking from a third party at content and putting in whether or not there's context, whether it's factual. Very different from what these social media companies actually do with your speech in terms of, we know study after study has shown, including internal studies from Facebook's own teams that were exposed by whistleblowers, that facts do not spread as fast as hate speech, as salacious content, and it is their algorithms, which are being tuned to maximize engagement, that are actually contributing to political disinformation more than any individual on the platform itself.
The only thing that sells better than sex is rage, and the algorithm is tuned in.
And we all know this to be true. They say that a lie can make it halfway around the world before the truth can even put its shoes on. I don't remember the saying, but we all know this is true. And because these social media platforms are built in a way that seeks more engagement, they boost posts that enrage people. And oftentimes, what enrages people are the things that are not true. The things that are telling completely fake stories about this person or that issue. And so to take away any sort of moderation or fact-checking from your platform is going to have devastating impacts on society at large. We already saw how Facebook could be used to enact a genocide. And we think allowing much more of this content to flood free on Meta's platforms is going to help. I am completely disgusted by what we are seeing from some of the biggest leaders or business leaders in our country. And I think Scott Galloway said it best. And if you guys don't know Scott Galloway, I would highly recommend going to check out his content. He is a personal role model of mine. He, too, is a wealthy individual who has sold companies. He's done very well for himself. But he also thinks about society at large. He also thinks about protecting those who might not be as fortunate. And I think that this is a perfect model for masculinity that is completely contrary to what we are seeing from the MAGA movement. Let's listen to how he talks about When are the real men going to show up?
This is again nothing about placating the Republican Party and saving money and adding shareholder value. And what is so shocking, I mean, just from a personal standpoint, what's the point of having all this money if you aren't at some point going to show some fidelity as a 40 or a 50-something-year-old man that has the wealth of the GDP of a Latin American nation to actually standing up and showing some fidelity to American values? Bezos has got the yacht. Tim Cook, Jensen Huang at NVIDIA is worth more than Intel or Boeing. At what point? When do the men show up here? When do the Americans show up here? So this is not only incredibly shocking but not disappointing from Trump, but where's the leadership? Where are the men that have such blessings and such prosperity from the rule of law and capitalism and competition? And we don't need more mergers and acquisitions. We need more breakups.
And he is exactly right about that. And I really like this model for masculinity. It is completely contrary to what we are seeing over in the MAGA movement. And of course, protecting others and looking out for those that are more vulnerable isn't solely a masculine trait, but real men should be standing up for their values. They should be standing up and protecting those that are less fortunate. And to see everybody, or a lot of the people in the business community, the tech billionaires in particular, just look out for them and them only is quite disgusting to me. Where are the Mark Cubans? Somebody who is extraordinarily wealthy, but understands the value of America and stands up for American values. When are those people entering the room? When are the people who have principle going to stand up to Donald Trump? Instead, we have these weak assholes just bending the knee and giving Donald Trump basically whatever he wants and making all of the overtures in the world to curry favor with the wannabe fascist, the wannabe authoritarian. It is an absolute disgrace. So, I will leave it there for now. This is something we're going to continue to talk about because I don't understand how these wealthy billionaires can make their riches off the back of America and then turn around and be willing to set it all ablaze. That is absolutely wild to me. And it really appears now that the oligarchy has come into full form. And we need to fight back every step of the way. So, if you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We really need to foster a new progressive media that can fight back against the right-wing media ecosystem that is a dumpster fire of misinformation and disinformation. So please do remember to hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to see just how degraded Donald Trump's brain has become, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.